Hello, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? How are you guys? You guys can hear me? You guys can't hear me? Let me see if I can raise the gain a little bit. Can you guys hear me a little better now? I should be very loud. Hello, Filippo. Hi, Benny. Hi, Roxia. Titan. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for waiting. I will start in like 5 minutes or less than that. This is a live stream. So for those watching as a recording, the video is an unedited live stream directly from the YouTube stream. Yeah, this is what I do. I critique on stream. I critique art submitted to my subreddit and my Discord. I'll cover all the links with you guys in a second. And that's it. I just apply my critiques to the paintings submitted by you guys. And then we go from there. If there's a lesson in there, I'll cover it. I show you the before and after at the end. I'm sure you guys know all about this, but there's a lot of new viewers here as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's class. Hi, Pencil. Hi, Mustang. Hope you're all having a good day. I did not stream for all of September because I think for most of September, all of September, I was doing Sketchtember streams every single day. So I was still very much active on the channel, but I do not have those streams live anymore. They're not available. They're on private, mostly because it's just madness. It's absolute chaos in there. It's like a party. We partied every single night for 30 days. And every party was not like the other. Each time it was just insane. But if you guys want to take a look at the Sketchtember, sorry, one second, the Sketchtember wall, you can by going to the Discord community. And if you want to get into the Discord community, all you have to do is go to istebrak.com, and that'll take you to my Discord where you can join us. So let me get the link for you guys. So right here, istebrak.com, you click on this Discord icon right at the top right of this list of links, and that'll take you directly into the Discord group. And in the Discord group, you can scroll down on the side into galleries. All the way at the bottom of galleries, you'll see Sketchtember 2025, and you'll see the last day of the prompt, which was Hades. That was the prompt name. I don't know how Sketchtember or September passed by so quickly. I really have no idea how that happened. It was really, really fun. The amount of inspiration in here was insane. I think we all just kept each other going. It was really, really amazing. And the experience is singular. I think that how you feel while sketching, looking at everybody sketching and watching everyone try the same prompt and seeing all the different interpretations of that prompt, it was magical, to say the least. I really encourage you guys to look through this wall. There's some funny stuff, there's some serious stuff, there's some super painted, well rendered stuff, there's some scribbles, there's just amazing. This one was Cursed Kiss, and we had a lot of funny entries on this one, including mine. If I scroll any higher, I'm scared that I will see. No. I don't want mine to be seen. If you want to see what I drew for Cursed Kiss, you'll have to find this wall yourself. So go to istebrak.com, click on the Discord icon right there, and then to submit your work for critique, all you have to do is go to the top left again, top right, sorry, and click on the subreddit icon. That'll take you to my subreddit. This is where I found some pieces that I'll be critiquing this week. And if you want another way to submit your work for critique, all you got to do is go to Discord, And right down here, where is it? General critique. Where are you? Oh my goodness. Where is it? I keep missing it. Are you kidding me? Where the hell is it? Is it, oh, there you go. General critique. It wasn't in the drop down. If you go to general critique, you'll be able to find a lot of art that people are submitting for critique. And we critique each other. That's it. That's my community. It's always based off critique, friendly, respectful, constructive criticism. And that's how we all get better. So let us get started on today's stream. I'm going to be taking a look at this piece. It's amazing. It's beautiful. The colors are phenomenal. And what I feel like are problematic with it. So when I look at this one, a lot of stuff pops out that feels like it's in the way of all the good stuff. And the stuff that pops out is really the type of stuff that you can't help against. You can't change the rules so that it works for you, but it doesn't work for anybody else. And the thing I'm talking about right now is breaking the template and being too realistic with the facial structure. Yes, you can be too realistic. It's possible. And you can be overly realistic with the muscles of the face, the laugh lines. Okay, so these laugh lines right here are too realistic. You are going for partial realism in a lot of ways. For instance, she's a full-grown female with breasts and everything, but her head size is very cartoony, fantasy, kind of like a, fairy, exactly what she is, which is a fairy, like a fall fairy or something. Sophie, shh. So, sorry. So what's happening is that it's very realistic, and what it's doing is it's dragging down the portrait into an uncanniness. So when you start getting better at rendering, let's say you're in the world of it, you got really good at drawing a face, you did the 14-day challenge, you're really good at rendering now, and you want to start drawing your characters. You are more in danger now of something that you weren't in danger of before you started rendering, which is the uncanny valley. You will have an uncanny valley phase. Let's say that, you're looking at a timeline of your skill development. All right, and I see this every single day, and I've been teaching for over a decade. So let's say that this is the timeline of your skill development. You're really good at sketching. Let's say you're obviously not noob, but you've gotten pretty good at your sketches, and you're a noob in the sense that you've never rendered before. So you're on your way into rendering. So you're great with sketching. You want to learn how to render. So you've basically restarted the ticker. You're now at 0 level with rendering. As you start getting more into rendering, from your cartoony background, you know how to draw eyes in a cartoony way. Your lines are great. You have great lines. You want to learn how to render. There is going to be this like a minimum level of uncanny valley that you're going to experience in like the first year to like a year and a half if you're doing pretty consistent study. Even 6 months, I would say, the first 6 months of just uncanny valley. Everything you do will be uncanny because you're wobbly. You're still learning how to walk. You're still learning how to balance the realism, because all you really did between sketching and rendering is you added volume and you shone light onto the cube, right? So this is the cube. You used it for your sketches. Now you got to render it, meaning you have to apply light to it, add a shadow, and pick a side that is dark, right? So you did that. All you did was that. And you start realizing a lot of the things you do as a cartoon or an anime style or anything that gets away with those features or those sizes or those lines as a line, you will not get away with as a render, because you are now borrowing not only from the world of comic books and anime and manga, you are now borrowing from the real world. You are taking the light of the real world and all the uncanniness that comes with it. And so you start learning certain types of rules, like it's just like red tape. You just can't cross it, and no one can cross it without bordering into the uncanny. And the laugh line is one of those rules. You have to be very careful. A lot of the things that you do in a realistic painting, you can't do if it's going to be a hybrid, mostly stylized, realistic quote-unquote rendering of this. It just doesn't feel right. If you add this to a character that is not aged, it will look uncanny. Why does it look uncanny? One, because it adds age only in one area, as if gravity aged her only in her laugh lines, and that's it, nowhere else. And it doesn't make any sense. Also, it adds this realism that is also not visible anywhere else. And so I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm also going to add a shadow for the glabella area of the nose. And then I'm going to blend out the nose because it was way too geometric for what you were doing. And I'm just going to minimize that Botoxy look to the lips, that bottom lip. And this is a good start. You see, we've left some of the shadow. So some of the shadow that you have. Sorry, I'm still trying to figure out my volume. I may be a little bit too loud. You've left some of, I've left some of the shadow here. So if you have to have a laugh line, don't use a line, use a shade. So where you once had, obviously you didn't have a line, but you had a very thick kind of dense shadow drop here. And I'll show you in the before and after. You had something like that. It's big no-no. If you have to have it, you do it as I've resulted here, which is a thick brush, low opacity, get the shadow, and kind of build the cheek. It's more of a building of the cheek. It's not an actual line that you're drawing. Now, I'm going to prove to you how this looks by showing you the before and after. All right, do you see that issue there? Especially because you added the shadow of the nose to be simultaneously like moving with the shadow of that laugh line. Something about it looks uncanny, kind of old, kind of ghoulish. Do you guys see what I mean? So before, after, before, after. So you get rid of that extra age, that extra little thing that's standing in the way. And so now that we got rid of it, we can just kind of look at her at face value. We don't have to be, whoa, what is happening with her face? What's the age? What's happening here? Now we can just take a look at everything. And so that would be one of the most important changes I make today. And I'm going to make quite a few of them. But if I were to put them on a tier and say which one of these is the most important one, this is the most important one. The change of the laugh line. So you just have to ask a non-artist. So a lot of you turn your noses up at non-artists. Feel free to turn your noses up at AI artists though. But they're not that they're artists or anything. But you know, non-artists, don't turn your nose up at them because nobody knows better than they do what looks weird. They just know. When you start drawing for a long time, you end up getting very, very blind to your own work because it's your baby. So you're blind to the mistakes you're making. And no one is more harsh and more clear-cut than a non-artist. So get some critiques from non-artists. They really do know what they're talking about because they look at this stuff every day. And they see this stuff. They know how to tell you if something looks off. Their eyes are familiar with that concept. So let's talk about everything else. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of moving around a little too much. I'm not sure how to explain it other than that. So you have this attempt to build this anatomy and this pose, but I feel like very little reference was used. If reference was used, it was used very loosely. Because if you had painted this with the use of a reference and building your gestures, drawing some thumbnails, experimenting with the different types of gestures ahead of time, you would have avoided all of the stiffness, this awkward angle, some of these awkward kind of crunches or like crunchy anatomy. All the anatomy feels like it's running out of space, so it's being forced into or packed into the space around it. Feels like everything is just running out of room. It feels like she's in an invisible small box. Do you guys see what I mean when I say that? So I'll show you. See how like she's in this like really tight box and she can barely sit loosely. Her joints aren't loose. Her joints don't feel like kind of like, you know, angelic or free or natural as you would expect from a fairy, kind of like an airborne creature. All right, and then not to mention this arm, you've literally drawn the Barbie doll arm. So if you guys think about Barbie dolls and that weird, arm that they used to have that was just bent, it was just a bent arm. That's kind of what you guys draw sometimes when you can tell you haven't used reference if you go for the Barbie doll square arm, that perpendicular arm gesture. It becomes very, very obvious. And this is the go-to arm gesture for anyone who just not sure what to do with the arm. They've never really done enough gestures so they know how arms look like naturally. Arms have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 joints, and not including like the end ones or every single finger joint. Let's say 4 joints at least if you don't want to include the fingers, but the fingers do add their own little miniature joint attached. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the ones at the very end. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if you include the ones at the very end. That's a lot of joints. That's a lot of flexibility. That's a lot of motion. And you guys only go for this Barbie doll arm and the fingers are perfectly straight. This is why the gesture looks stiff. So again, before, after, before, after. Also, another reason it looks stiff is because there's like no breathing room between the neck and the body, like, and the head and the body, and the neck feels very, very constricted. She's flying. She's a fairy. She shouldn't feel like she's stuck inside a box or stuck inside a small car. Counting the Istebrak. Shut up, Benny. So before, after, before, after. Do you see how much more relaxed she looks? How much more loose? How much more graceful she looks? I feel like I'm way too loud. I am sorry. I'm still messing around with the volume a little bit. So that's done. Let's try to do something with this arm that feels a little bit more natural. So I'm going to kind of just cut off the rest of the arm and then maybe just do like an elegant little wrist, a wristband of some kind. And in fact, I may just get rid of the whole arm just so I can get rid of the whole hand, sorry, just so I can do something with it. And so I'm just going to flip the canvas and let's just sketch really quickly a gesture for the hand that's just a little bit more natural. Again, I'm not the strongest at hands, but let's say that she's just kind of just doing something very delicate with her hands. She's kind of just got that little, kind of like a, like a princess hand, you know what I mean? That gesture where just the pinky and all of that is just out, and she just has a delicate, curious hand that's just hanging out. All right. The next thing I want to do is talk about what you're doing with the head size. I feel like the head size is just a little too big. You can still get away with that fairy-like personality. You can still create that whole fairy creature design template while not creating almost, again, a very uncanny type of head size. It feels like it's too large. So let me show you what I mean. The reason being, the head is very, very close to the edge of the canvas. So I want to put it in such a way where it's still big, but not so big that it feels like it's just the biggest thing in the scene. It's still going to feel like a very, almost like a gymnast's body type. You know, gymnast body types are very small. Their heads always look gigantic because they're so small. But they're also very, very built, and the body is very athletic. So there's like this balance there. If you want to study these types of creatures, just find the body type that is adjacent to that, or the athlete that is adjacent to that creature design. That body type of that athlete will work very, very well as a reference for that creature. Right, so I'm just shrinking her head size. Again, it's still big, but it's not like huge. It's not eating up the canvas size. And that way she's not dangerously close to the edge of the canvas anymore. And then there's what you're doing with the lighting. So you have this really, really beautiful silhouette, but you're not taking advantage of it. So have you ever seen little, like sunlight go through a leaf? It's really beautiful. You have that opportunity here. You also have a lot of shadows that you can play with. And there's also one more thing. When you overly do the warm or the cool, it looks very cheesy. You always have to have this balance. So you have to find a place to put in some cool. You can put the cool in the sky color. It doesn't have to be like purely orange. It doesn't have to look like Dune, you know, or Arrakis. Like it doesn't have to look like it's an alien planet or you're in Mars or Mexico or something, according to Hollywood. It doesn't have to look that cheesy. It doesn't have to look like that. So let me see what I can do here. Oops. So I'm just trying to remove this from the lasso, all these leaves and this tree and all of that, so that I can maybe I can go up to 20. Alrighty, and so I'm just going to see if I can expand on the highlight, but then also introduce some kind of cool here. And where you've placed the mountain range, it's just a little bit too high. You want to be able to show a little bit more of the sky. You want to show a little bit more of what's happening in the background. Obviously, you have layer access, I don't. So it'll be very easy for you to just quickly change the sky color, add something interesting. Don't use this soft fall orange everywhere because it'll lose its touch too soon. You'll exhaust all the magic of it. You kind of have to do it in a very, very tasteful way, meaning that you have to use some other color on other areas. So what I mean is something as simple as just sliding up into blue and using that blue on some of these areas, just so that the orange that is used for this fall magical scene, it's actually working. Remember, in the fall, what makes the fall trees look so beautiful? It's the contrast against all the other stuff around it that's generally still very much blue earth atmosphere. And then in a sunset scene, the orange of the sunset is beautiful because it's contrasted against all of the blue of the sky that's still lingering before sunset. So you need that contrast or else it's just not going to work. And so I'm just trying to introduce that blue here. And I'm just going to throw it into the background color as much as I can before it just looks too much. So we're preserving all of the orange for the leaves and the sunlight and her hair. Everything else should just be a moderate, cool value. Shouldn't be excessively orange, or else the orange is not going to have that impact that you imagined it would. So there's a little bit of cool introduced. It's doing a lot already. It's doing a lot of work. And the orange is starting to stick out now, starting to make a kind of an impact, as it should. And then I'm going to fix what's happening with the leaves of the wings. So the wings here, let me just select this wing. Let me see if I can do it that way. So the wings feel like they're missing for the rest of the design. I don't know, maybe you just didn't have the layer turned on or something like that. And so I'm just going to introduce the next wing, this one, and then I'll do the other one as well. Oops. Okay. And just expanding that wing just so it feels a little bit more complete. And I'll decrease the opacity and cut away at it. So some of this is stuff you haven't done yet, right? Some of this stuff is stuff you haven't quite gotten to yet. So maybe this critique will help you finish it a little bit. And you'll be able to know what to do with the rest of the painting if you find yourself stuck. It'll give you an idea of what it'll look like finished in certain areas. So I'm going to merge that down, and then I'm going to try to introduce some sunlight into the leaves. Usually the sunlight in leaves is because there is a shadow in the way, creating that nice pattern. So that pattern of sunlight needs the shadow of another leaf in the way of the sunlight. So sometimes we do need some of that. We need to fake a shadow here somewhere. We need to like fake it. So I'm going to really quickly duplicate, and just using dodge tool on highlight, I'm just going to create some fake shadows going through these leaves, meaning that I'm going to just like create a cut like that. I'll use soft brush instead. That's too much. As if there's like some kind of thing in the way of the leaf. We don't want to make the whole leaf glowing. It's beautiful. You could do that. You could make the whole leaf glow. But we want to kind of cheat a little bit and create that dappled lighting effect, so that we have this variation of light, dark, light happening on the leaf. So it's not overkill. Because sometimes dodge tool, I mean, not all the time dodge tool, what am I saying? All the time dodge tool can create this overkill effect. And so now we've introduced some sunlight into the leaves, but it's not overdoing and it's not trying to take over the focal point. And I have to zoom out for these changes or else it just doesn't feel right. Another thing that you've done is you've kind of over yellowed that background. So let me under yellow it a little bit. It's still going to be yellow. It's just not going to be like this almost jaundice, you know, like it's a very sickly yellow. We want to just allow some of that white and the orange and all of that to create the yellow in other things, for instance, around her hair, which is what I'm about to do. So in order to add the rim light of her hair, and it's very orange hair, I have to get rid of some of that yellow in the background so I can displace it and use it somewhere else. All right, now I can use this, and I'm just gonna kind of use dodge tool on blast, but in a new layer, and I'm going to throw a bunch on it. I'm going to overdo it because I'm in a new layer. I can just delete away as needed. And I'm just adding this almost like orangey golden rim light around her hair. And that's really going to complete the formula for this lighting. You need that rim light more than ever on orange hair. I love painting orange hair for this one reason. It's just so susceptible to that translucency, that subsurface scattering effect that we see. Sometimes it'll just full on illuminate like a whole area right under the hair, just like this subsurface, almost jade-like glow, but like an orange jade. Sometimes it'll sneak in right behind the neckline and join in that light, creating that subsurface glow. So I did this in a new layer, overdoing it. So now I can go back and clean it up, create some shadows. So again, artificial shadows. In this case, they're not quite that artificial. Sometimes the hair will cast a shadow on itself, right? Because the hair is in the way of itself a lot of the time. And creating those bands of light and all of that good stuff. So I'm just doing that real quick. We have this really, really nice effect now. I don't want the leaves to join in that, so I'm just going to get rid of that real quick. And I'm going to leave that where it is. Actually, I'm just going to minimize. Do I want to do that? No, I will leave that extra highlight on the head. I will get rid of this one. Okay, and so now that we have the peak of what we're doing with the focal point, she's the focal point We want to make sure all of those frames, all of the saturation, the sharpest edges, the smallest brush strokes, all centralize around the focal point. The focal point is the diva. It gets everything. It gets sharp lines. Look at these tiny lines. Great work. It gets the most colors. It gets the most saturation in colors. It gets the most detail, meaning small brush work. All of that stuff happens here. I'm also going to just create some ambient illumination for the gold armor on the, those little accessories here. And now that I know how bright I'm going for the focal point, I can probably sneak in a little bit more subsurface for those wings. Let me duplicate the layer so I don't overdo it. When I duplicate the layer, I delete away. A lot of you are really mystified by this trick. I'm just using 2 copy layers. It's the same layer, but I get to delete while getting the old layer back, so I don't have to use like selection or anything like that. It's a really very fast way to get what I need done. Do you see that? I didn't have to use select or lasso. I just duplicate the layer. And then I'm also going to let this braid here get the same shadow. It's still dense hair. Hair is made up of a lot of dense matter, but at the edges of it, the reason why it's translucent is because it's a lot of stringy matter, and those strings get illumination on either side of the matter, creating the illusion that it's subsurface scattering. Some hair actually has subsurface scattering because it's just got no color in it, but the more color it has, the less likely it will have subsurface scattering. Less color, the more likely, sorry. And so I'm just doing the same treatment to this braid. But I don't want it to kind of take away from what's happening here. Really quickly, before I do anything else, I want to know how much bloom I'm adding. So I'm just grabbing like some of the background color. And I'm adding it here as a bloom to sit on top as if the light is bleeding through her head and hair to create that beautiful sunset scene. So you see, it's like a little bit of bloom. It's not too much. It's not overkill. You don't want to overdo it. Like this would be overkill. You don't want to do that. You only want to do this when a character, you're just painting like a Magic the Gathering white card, angel card of some kind. You're painting some kind of divine Jesus painting or an actual angel from the Bible or that kind of stuff. That's when you want to bring in those really cheesy, classic go-to, hey, this person, this thing, this entity represents all the good things. But you don't want to do that for like everyday common folk, because then it just, okay, why is every character you draw so divine? That's what it's going to look like. So I wouldn't want to make her divine. We just want to make her beautiful. We want to give her the spotlight. And then I would say everything else just comes down to detail. I think you should work on the hand a little bit. So let's talk about the hand real quick. So let me turn off that. This hand right here feels very, very just like it doesn't match. It's not very feminine. It doesn't match the level of femininity you have here. The joint doesn't feel like it's active. So I'm just going to take that joint and kind of try to shrink it. Maybe she's casting a spell. Maybe she's changing the color of the leaves. If she is, like in Pixie Hollow type thing, the Disney Tinkerbell movies. If she is changing the color, great movies, you want to show that some of them are still green and then there's like this color changing happening. That way her magic, I think she's using some kind of magic here. It will kind of create this story. It'll add this narrative to the illustration. So again, I just want to make it look like her hand is just like doing this really delicate bend in the wrist. You see that bend in the wrist? Take a look at where the hand was before. It just looked like a creature hand. And then after. So let me see what I can do really quickly just to add some rendering for the hand. So I just need to outline it real quick, know where we are. and then add that. It's like this really weird tangent happening between that wing and the rest of the painting. So I'm just going to go ahead and expand that wing and let it eclipse that light that's in the way, just like that. That way we don't have this awkward space that is just continuously there. And then the sky color suddenly just stops right behind her hand. That's not possible. So let's throw in an extension of the sky color. You know, in certain areas, let's just make the sky look like it's still the same sky, whether or not it's reached her hand or something else. And so I'm just creating like a tapering of the sky color. Okay, and I want to add the necessary eclipsing of her anatomy, so making sure that her hand is eclipsed accordingly in that light environment. The light environment is what's the weather, what's the time of day. That's the light environment. You want to respect it. You always want to think about it, like what's actually happening here. And usually when we paint hands, because hands are high traffic areas for anatomy, like they have all the blood, they have so many different little joints, they get tanned much more quickly than the rest of your bodies. For instance, my hands are like 10 shades darker than my chest area. It's crazy. So you want to make sure you have that, all those reasons for why that whole section is darker. Just throw a little extra shadow there. And not just that, my hands are also more red than my neck and chest area. And so that's because they're a high traffic spot. They're always going to have blood doing a U-turn right here. Beep, beep. There's a lot of blood traffic here. Everybody wants to get back to the heart. And so I'm just going to, did you really need the beep, beep? Yes. Okay. Because I'm a kindergarten teacher at heart. And so I'm just trying to make sense of your little thumb area here. And then this gesture of the hand, I'm not sure what's going on. So I'm just gonna really quickly sketch that in as well. All right, so I'm just gonna find those last two fingers. You want to keep the nails dark, so you like that darker theme. And she kind of has like this overlapping of the two fingers. I'm not sure why you have more nails than fingers, I think. And I guess she's just doing a quick little spell to change the color of everything. And her nails are dark. All right, so I'm just trying to add that sunlight to the hands really quickly. And just adding some extra sunlight here and there. So the hands are darker than they were before. They're a little bit more eclipsed. The gesture could still use some work. Let me do one more little correction for the anatomy. So just trying to keep the anatomy making sense. I might just take that whole hand and lower it. Maybe pulling out this elbow. And then there's the chest and corset. Yes, like you probably wanted to add that lift in the corset. Trust me, the lift is still there. It's just if you make them too high, it'll look like it's a corset, but it's also a turtleneck. We don't want that. Okay, so this arm looks like it's much too thick for the body type. It doesn't feel like it belongs in the same. Do you see all those little changes? Just to unify a little bit more. And then I'm going to take this hand and just drop it down. Maybe enlarge it a little bit extra. Just so that the length of the forearm matches the rest of the arm. right? It's not anything that looks like it's doing anything just outside of what's logical. That's it. I didn't do anything stylistic. I didn't do anything outside of just anatomy size and placement. There's a lot of logic in the way you operate the anatomy. If there's no reason, creature design wise or whatever, to make that arm that big, just go to default back down to realism. If there is, you know, a non-realistic reason that's good enough to oversize boobs, you guys, you know, that's up to your discretion. There is within reason a lot you can do with the size of legs. People have all kinds of leg sizes. Then there's the neck length. You can, within reason, oversize it outside of anatomy and exaggerate it even more. But when it comes to hand size, shoulders, you know, there's only so, maybe not shoulders when it comes to men, but when it comes to female bodies, androgynous, you can do anything you want. But you're clearly going for something feminine here. There is a certain level of oversizing you can do that is no longer logical. It's no longer connected to any style. A lot of anatomy can be added with style. A lot of anatomy and style do work, but not in every body part. Some body parts, just you can't stylize them. Then you're just doing something else entirely. And then I'm just going to figure out this thigh area. Feels a little bit under rendered. Good job on the skin tones, though. Great skin tones. I don't think I had to adjust the skin tones at all, so that's wonderful. The leg, you probably want to keep it, but it feels like she's trying not to touch lava, like the bottom of the canvas is lava. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't be scared. Just let her foot get cut off. It'll look more anatomically correct. It's less for you to render, and it just won't look so awkward. It's fine. It feels like a natural direction for that foot to travel. And I just want to show you how afraid you were of the edge of the canvas. Edge of the canvas fear is real. Have you ever learned how to ride a bike and you're trying to avoid this edge, but you just keep going towards it, but you're trying to avoid it, but you hit it anyway? Well, that's the kind of fear you guys have of the edge of the canvas. You're trying to avoid it so you don't make a weird mistake, but then you don't realize you're actually avoiding it, and you're too afraid to crop it, but you don't crop it early enough. It's just this really weird thing you avoid subconsciously, and you make all these proportion mistakes. And you want to see the proof? This was the other leg. This was the other leg. It looked like a growth or something. Get rid of it. You don't need to put yourself through so much pain and hardship just to show the legs because you're so afraid of the edge of the canvas. It's a sign of maturity as an illustrator to crop without mercy, crop like you don't care, you know, you don't care about your drawing. Crop like that, because that's how you get more realistic photography in your work. Yes, there's a lot of photography and illustration, a lot of it. And I'm just going to throw that bounce light on the thigh. It really is like the floor is lava with the edge of the canvas. And I'm just going to render this leg here. Keep that shadow. And just keep that lower leg though, that very low leg here. Keep that dark. You don't want to make it as bright as the shoulder. You see how bright you don't want to do that because that canvas doesn't need that much brightness that low in the scene. And so I'm just getting rid of that leg, and then I'm going to render the other thigh really quickly. It's so easy to render thighs. It's literally just dark, light, dark. So dark because the crotch area is darker, and then mid-tone, and then the highlight, the mid-tone again, then a little bit of shadow. And that's it, and then you just blend. You got to make sure it's still cylindrical with the thigh shape. So you kind of do curves, and then you just delete. It's a cylinder. If you can render a cylinder, you can render anything that has a cylindrical nature to it. Super, super easy. Right away it happened. And then I'm just going to add the occlusion shadow, which is when two things collide or two things touch, they create an occlusion zone where no light is allowed. It's a closed club, no light allowed. And so we slowly start to occlude the light. in this area, and that would create that overlap shadow of those two cylinders. It's a bit messy because I'm working really quickly and I've got like 15 minutes left. And then I'm just going to finish the pants. So we're just going to add the pants right there, the panties or the whatever it is, that panty area, and just this kind of like extension, the leotard. I think it's a leotard, right? What Beyonce wears to every concert. It's always in a leotard. Yeah, and there's that. And let's just quickly merge everything back down. And things starting to feel a little bit more clean, right? Because all the edges have been cleaned up. All the direction has been cleaned up. We don't have to show the other leg. We can just keep it just like that. There's no reason. And right here, this weird transition green thing, I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm going to paint like the leg isn't there, and I'm just going to delete. Gotta lock that body in place. Yeah. I mean, I would not be on a stage without a leotard. I'm not over here judging. I would need 2 leotards. And then we're just cleaning up here. So the sky color, this cool little mix, this little mix up of gray and blue and the yellow and the gold. You see that how nice it is to add that gray in there, that blue gray. Really, really important addition we did today. Very, very important to make the sky familiar. If you make the sky too orange, we're like in a desert storm or something like that. We lose the familiarity. And then I'm just cleaning up this overlap right here. So this is an idea, you know, it's an idea for where you might want to take your image after all of this work you've put in. There are a lot of other things to add. So there are some pretty important additions to make to this light environment. Okay, they're nothing to do with the character anymore. They all have to do with the laws of physics in a scene, and it'll take a little bit of lassoing for me to get this to work. Let's see if I can do it in record time. Okay, this is working. We're doing it. We are not doing it here, and that's fine. I can easily lasso that. Okay, so in a light environment like this, there needs to be a collective brushstroke that you do at the very end. It can also be factored into your palette early on, but this shadow that you need to add to everything is really, really important. And it's going to be blue. We're just going to drop it over everything. All right, it can be a little bit darker. What this creates is it creates these 2 zones. We're also going to, oopsie, we're going to, did I lose my lasso? Oh, that's fine. That's fine. So we're also going to do the same thing, but for the inverse. The inverse is going to be like an orange or a warm. Is anything familiar popping out to you guys? What's happening here? What are these 2 colors called? Does anybody know? Right, there's 2 general colors called. What are they called? Sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's orange, and a purple and yellow are the opposites, but sometimes blue and orange can work very complementary. I just gave you the answer. They're complementary colors on the color wheel. So the reason we're doing this, yes, who's that Pokemon? The complementary colors on the color wheel. This is an actual 2 layers that are going to still be present when the painting is done. The first thing that we do is we put this on darken, and this will account for the fact that it is in an environment that is not facing the light. We are in the umbra, we are in the shadow, we are in the eclipsed side. This is before, this is after. Before, after. This layer has to stay. Doesn't have to stay at every stage. Doesn't have to stay at every stage of the density, I mean, of the objects here or the material. So matter. So what I'm going to do is delete away at that blue filter I added anywhere where I know there's enough subsurface scattering to allow it to happen, meaning that there's some light peeking through the trees, getting on some of the leaves, but most of those shadows need to stay. That's how you create a realistic scene. All right, and yes, it's complementary colors. It's a filter that's added. All the pros do this. You don't notice it because how are you going to notice such a slight tint? But your eye, which is so much more not sophisticated than you, but tuned in, and your brain sees more than it tells you it does. Your brain sees so much, but it limits how much you can access in that information. Your brain knows if there's a painting, it's the exact same painting, but one of them had the complementary values or the complementary light tint or what I just added, the color tint, and one doesn't, your brain will tell which one looks more realistic without, you just won't know why. You just won't know why. You'll just say this one looks better somehow. And it's because of this. This is how you get colors to not look so storybook. This is how you raise the tier of your skill. This is one of those small things that you do that crosses you over from late intermediate to cross that holy border into advanced. One of the most difficult things you will do in your journey. It's hard to cross that line because that line is just, it's all these small little things that stop you from crossing it successfully. And it's an accumulation of all these small little decisions. Becoming a late intermediate artist is kind of a curse. Your work looks amazing, better than ever, but you know there's something stopping you from looking phenomenal, like amazing, like super advanced. You know, people reference your work. People do master studies of your work type skill, you know, the kind we all want to be. And it's this stuff right here. These are the small little changes that make all the difference. I've added a lot of smaller changes that have helped it cross over into intermediate. It was kind of early intermediate, you know, late beginner kind of rendering. You'll see in the before and after. But this extra blue, what it did is that it added this tint, very, very believable tint of realism to the piece. And I'm just allowing it to sit there. Then I'm going to bring this in. And I can add it on soft light. That looks horrible. I can add it on color dodge. I can add it on lighten. I like lighten, but it doesn't really do that well. So I think I will leave it on soft light, but decrease the saturation. And what soft light does is that it just creates this, in fact, you know what? I'll leave it on normal. What soft light does, I'll probably use it on an extra layer, is it adds this, this kind of like very delicate presence of the color, but it has to be very, very desaturated. And so I'm just going to like let that color sit there. Soft light also can change the color, so I have to slowly shift it back into yellow and orange. And that's the general color of what exactly? The light. If the light wasn't light and it was turned into matter, it would just get this color to it. And that's going to be this filter that I add. The background already has so much of it. I'm probably going to do something like this and delete at the bottom half. And now we have two opposing parameters inside the image. We have the white of the background, which I will now brighten closer to the sky. So we have this really, really present like shade. It's not shade, it's like a curtain of the light over everything in the background. And this presence of the shadow over everything in the foreground. And together, they create this very, very realistic atmosphere. We're literally painting the air. We're literally painting the air. And that's that little push, that little oomph that just changes the work and helps it cross over into those advanced looks of inside some illustrations. And I'm just going to delete away at these like little artifacts here. I don't know where they came from, probably lasso. So let's flatten the image. Let me see if I'm missing anything. Yeah, let's flatten the image and let's add a couple more little things. This is a framing thing. This has nothing to do with the light or whatnot. It's just a cinematic camera trick. We're just darkening the lower half of the canvas. We don't need it to be brighter. We don't need anybody looking there. Maybe there's some kind of game logo here. at the bottom, something like that. We don't need anything on that bottom half. We really just need this to look like it's just out of the way. And then one last little weird thing I just noticed, this little part of the corset, I can't tell what's happening, so I'm just going to just clean it up a little bit. Okay, so let's take a look at the before and after now. A lot of the stuff that stuck out initially was taken care of at the start, and then most of the stuff that happened later was all related to atmosphere, changes like that. So before, too much orange. So much orange that the orange you added wasn't oranging enough anymore. And so what happens when a student doesn't decrease the excessive orange, they just overdo the orange that they want to pop. They don't realize that all they got to do to make this orange pop is just surround it with a little bit less orange. And now the orange that you do have, look at how it pops. I didn't saturate outside for your base tone. I didn't touch your base tone. All I did was add the subsurface scattering. I did saturate around the rim, and that's it. Where your color was, where it started, I didn't touch that. I didn't saturate that anymore. You would have, in order to make this pop, you would have probably done, oh, you know, I need to really saturate. I need to kind of, this orange isn't popping. I don't know why. So you would have done something like this eventually down the line because it just wasn't working enough. Not you specifically, but like a general you guys, you. But you don't have to do any of that. All you have to do is add the blue-gray of the sky behind her. And that would have been enough. I wish I had access to the layer. I would have been able to make more clean changes. Then there's the head size, the hand size. The anatomy was all boxed in, stiff. Feels like she's in some kind of box, an invisible box. You see that? Oh, I think she had a skirt. That's what that was. My bad. I got rid of her skirt. And then you had this laugh line around the face. Let's take a look at that. Right? It aged her. It looks like those kind of character designs from the 90s. If you guys remember those from like A Never-Ending Story or The Labyrinth. You guys remember those old, I love them, they're charming, but they added this, they were so uncanny at times. They were kind of creepy at times and scary. A lot of the newer horror movies use those as templates for monsters because it's just something about them was very uncanny. That's because of that laugh line. So I just got rid of, it's still there, the difference in her cheek and then upper lip and then upper lip Cupid's bow area, there is a depression. It's light, dark, light. So there is a depression there, but it doesn't feel like this really excessive kind of age that just happened out of nowhere. There's the bloom, and that's it. Really not a lot of changes, but they add up and kind of create a more complete looking illustration. So that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you guys coming out to the live stream. For the first time in a while, I did an announcement on Instagram. I'll be doing a little bit more of those. I'm not sure how many of you came in through Instagram, but thank you for coming. I have not been active there for a very long time. I hope to kind of move back into that as the fall rolls in. If you guys want to join us on our Discord community, you just have to go to istebrak.com and click on the Discord icon right here. You can join us on the Discord. We hang out, we critique each other. I picked this up from the Discord community. This drawing right here is someone else's drawing that I picked up from the Discord community. I critique art here. And to get your work critiqued, all you have to do is go to istebrak.com and click on any of these two community links, either my subreddit, where I will select stuff this week to critique, or my Discord community. Both of those, I pick pieces at random, pieces that I feel like are relevant, and you guys can join us. Any work you're currently working on, I critique all kinds of stuff. It doesn't have to be full illustrations. I critique portraits. I critique even sculptures. So thank you guys for coming today. I really appreciate you guys joining me, and I'll see you guys this Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Bye, guys.